I'm Amanda Davis.
And I'm Ken Lustbader, here with the NYC LGBT Historic Sites Project. Our initiative is documenting historic and cultural locations in the 5 boroughs of New York City that reflect LGBT history and its influence on American culture.
Join us today as we take you on a tour in Greenwich Village of LGBT historic sites around Stonewall and beyond.
We're standing in front of the Stonewall Inn on Christopher Street. The Stonewall was a mafia-run bar where the gay community could relax, socialize, but under harassment nevertheless. In 1969, the police came in and raided it. They were taking people out, and a rebellion started that lasted over 6 days. Activism then took off immediately thereafter.
This basement space in this apartment building was formerly the Snake Pit, a bar that in March 1970 experienced a major police raid several months after Stonewall. This time they arrested a whole bunch of people, including an Argentinian student named Diego Benales, and they took them to the local police station. He jumped from the second floor window and was impaled on a fence below. People thought he was going to die, but he miraculously lived. But the event sparked a major demonstration outside the hospital. They said that no matter how you looked at it, he was pushed out of that window, and that everyone in the LGBT community at that time was being pushed, and they needed to fight back.
Behind me is the former Stewart's Cafeteria that was a popular gathering spot in the 1930s for gay and lesbian New Yorkers. Stewart's was known as a socializing space. The windows were so large that people would gather 2 to 3 deep outside looking at the dykes and pansies inside. Paul Katniss, the famous artist, depicted Stewart's in a painting that shows the raucous atmosphere that took place inside. Stewart closed in the 1930s, but its plate glass windows and look still remains today.
We're standing in front of the former Oscar Wilde bookstore. This was the second location of the bookstore, opened by Craig Rodwell. The original location billed itself as the first gay and lesbian bookstore in the world. This second location on Christopher Street opened in 1973 and was here until 2009. And Craig Rodwell was a pioneering gay rights activist. He wanted to stock his bookstore with positive books by gay and lesbian authors, which hadn't really been done to that point. The bookstore was also a very important social space, a place where people in the LGBT community could come and meet each other.
This is Fedora. Between the 1950s and 2010, Fedora was a gay-friendly restaurant. When it opened, it was a regular Italian restaurant, and to drum up business, Fedora and her husband asked Burt McHugh, a well-known male model at the time, to see if he can get his friends to come here. Before Facebook, before Instagram, before Twitter, Burt McHugh sent out 300 postcards to his best friends. Well, they all happened to be gay, so Fedora became a very gay-friendly restaurant from that point on.
We're in front of the former parish house of the Washington Square United Methodist Church, just a half block from Washington Square Park. From 1976 to 1987, many groups met here, but most prominently the Salsa Soul Sisters. They're credited as the first black lesbian organization in the country. The group is very important in providing women of color with a space to meet each other, to discuss important issues like racism in the gay community, single lesbian parenting. So from 1958 to 1968, this space on Cornelia Street was the home of the Caffe Cino, which is considered the birthplace of off-Broadway theater. It was also really important in the development of gay theater, particularly at a time when depicting homosexuality on stage on Broadway anywhere was illegal. So the space, which was operated by Joe Cino, he himself was an openly gay man, encouraged a lot of experimental writing for emerging playwrights, and so this space for that 10-year period was really important. And an early example, an important example of showing the LGBT community's influence on the arts. So we're in front of St. Joseph's Church in the Village. In 1982, this is a site where in the basement of the church, Sergeant Charles Cochran founded GOAL, the Gay Officers Action League, at a time when gay officers did not feel comfortable of being publicly gay and suffered from a lot of harassment. A year earlier, in 1981, Sergeant Cochran testified in support of the gay rights bill at the City Council. He was the first openly gay cop in NYPD history.
Julius's as a bar was operating since the early 20th century, and now has become the oldest continuing operating gay bar in New York City. At that time, the State Liquor Authority had a regulation that didn't allow openly homosexual people to gather. It's a way of controlling vice, controlling disturbances, and so forth. So a group called the Mattachine Society, which was an early gay rights activist group, got together and conceived of an idea called the sit-in. Based on the sit-in in the civil rights era, they went to various bars in the village where were asked to be served, and at that time they were served because people laughed at them. They went to 3 bars. They finally said, let's go to Julius's. Mattachine Society members, 4 of them standing here, saying, we are homosexuals, please serve us a drink. The bartender looked at them, put his hand over the glass, in a now famous photograph depicted by Fred McDowell, who, from that point on, the State Liquor Authority said, we have no such rule, even though that was not the case. The other part of what's so important about the sip-in is that it was one of the earliest civil rights acts of public display in New York City, or in the country really. It was very rare for people to be openly gay and put themselves out there visibly on TV with the press. But from that point on, 51 years ago, the sip-in has been an important touchstone of LGBT rights that predates Stonewall.